commodities went up substantially, okay? This is a commodity index in general, and if you want to keep track of basically how commodities are trading instead of keeping track of them all individually, you can just add this, okay? GSG. And this index essentially was up 2.68% here today, so it was a pretty big move, okay? And now the commodity index in general is actually positive on the year now, okay? Not something we want to see. We want to see commodities continue to go down this year, if anything, not up, okay? Not something we want to see whatsoever. Now, why did commodities go up so much? The reason is oil skyrocketed today, okay? It made an over 6% move here today. And I can tell you, when oil makes a 6% plus move, it's gonna send commodities up, okay? Now, this is troubling because now we're at a position where oil is now up 4% for the year, right? And it's potentially going to new highs. We'll see what happens here. OPEC obviously made a move there. And we don't want to see a situation where gas prices are as expensive in this summer as they were last summer. It's not something we want to see. On a national average recently, we've been about 50 cents to 75 cents a gallon cheaper than we were last year. That's great. We want to see that continue through the summer. So, let's keep an eye on this. This is something troubling I'm seeing. And I'd be honest, I was in Arizona recently, and I was shocked by the gas prices I saw out in Arizona. I always remember Arizona was fairly cheap market for gas, and my gosh, it is not anymore. I was looking at some of these gas stations. It was like $4.50 a gallon in Arizona. It's like, my gosh, man, things have changed in a pretty substantial way, okay? In March, I definitely saw a lot of bears start to capitulate, okay? I just got to be honest about that. A lot of these bears really started to, I noticed, shift toward actually less negative stances, which is interesting because the market's still very heavy. If you look at, let's say, for instance, AI investor sentiment, market is still overwhelmingly bearish compared to a normal period, right? But I have seen specifically really over the past 2 weeks, more and more bears start to move to more of a neutral stance, not to full bullish stance like, oh, we're buying now. No, but they're moving more to a neutral stance, which I think is interesting for the market now at this point in time. And let's just be honest. A lot of them were talking about S&Ps going back down to 3,600, making new lows, 3,400, 3,200, 3,000. And as you get further and further away from that, it becomes less and less of a probability, especially given you've already had earnings come down, you've already had all the worries about that. Inflation, you already had all the worries about that, so now you would need some epic amount of new inflation to come into the system, right? You need the Fed to continue to raise rates instead of, let's call it pausing rates or cutting rates, which look more like the realistic scenarios for this next 12 months. And so you need all that to happen, and you need the economy to fall off of rails, which has been actually very resilient. So it becomes a hard thing to get the S&P kind of down to where a lot of those bears thought the market was going, and that's why I think a lot of them are starting to move to more of a neutral stance now at this point in time. Talk about a few of the smaller caps. Oatly, Chef, Planet here, okay? So Oatly's obviously having a really good year. The stock's up about 27% year to date, and I think the real reason this one's showing strength is basically based upon many of the various moves they made. It looks like they're going to be in a great capital position now at this point in time. So there's no fear around could they go under or something like that. So there's that component. Also, it looks like they're just strategically going to run their business a lot better over this next several years than they ran over the past several years. And it looks like their margins are already starting to show increases, but their margins should continue to show increases quarter after quarter after quarter. And if their margins continue to trend the way they're going to trend, and they bring down costs of running the business, that profitability should be there. And those losses that were gargantuan, you saw this company taking insane losses in 2022. Those should go to minuscule losses over the course of this year. And there's definitely a potential, in my opinion, where they start putting up profitable quarter after profitable quarter, actually starting as early as next year and just being a profitable company from there on in, okay? So that's I think what's going on there with Oatly and why the stock has shown such strength this year and obviously outperforming the market, okay? The Chef really, over the past month, has made its big move, and a lot of people are looking at this and like, isn't up another 10% today? It's up 21% in the past month. Like, what's going on with the stock, okay? So my opinion in regards to the Chef, okay, is I think the part was a lot of people like a breath of fresh air, the fact that they haven't gone under, okay? I think that. I think also Sam Galletti talking about profitability coming way sooner than a lot of folks expected. I think that's a breath of fresh air. And I think there's just I think there's a risk appetite for a stock like this, right? Because if they can just make it through to the other side, there is potential big upside. It's a huge risk, right? But I think a lot of people are almost looking at Tattooed Chef as like a call option play, right? Where it's like, yeah, they could go under, like if they can't, raise capital somehow, they can't figure it out, right? But if they can just make it through this year, the upside on the other side, right, is really, really significant. And so that's what I think is going on with the Chef. I think a lot of people are just looking at it as a call option play and, kind of doing that sort of thing. Obviously, I have not bought this stock in a long time. And I mean, it's been a long, long time. I'm just a holder of the stock and just, along for the ride, essentially, right? It's been a vicious ride. They blew through, almost all their money. This company had almost $200 million at the peak. I mean, it was ridiculous. They blew through it all in a matter of two and a half years. Insane. And now they put themselves in a really bad financial situation. But if they can make it through and they can actually get the profitability like Sam's talking about, then the upside is crazy there. And so I think that's what people are doing with this stock. They're just treating it like as a call option, man. That's all that's going on there in my personal opinion from kind of that standpoint. And the market cap now at this point is so small that it's like all it takes is, a few people with decent money to, put some money in that stock and kind of treat it like a call option play, and you can get a big move there. And obviously here today made a big move. So it's probably going to continue to trade like a call option, okay? The Planet's a very different situation, right? This stock's about 20% year to date. First off, I still like the Planet very much, okay? And there's a big difference between the Planet and somebody like the Chef, right? Where the Chef blew through all their money, Planet's done a phenomenal job as far as their management team of really watching the money, okay? And spending every dollar, like watching every penny they spend on this business. And I got to say, Bob and Larry have done a phenomenal job really keeping that capital close and not just blowing it, unfortunately, like the Chef has done, right? And so the Planet's actually in a great capital position. I would make an argument that they're in the best capital position of any company in the world that is in the MJ space. Almost every single MJ company has been going under or could be potentially close to going under this year. And the Planet, it's not like that at all. They're loaded with cash. For how small this company is, they're loaded with cash. Them and Avant are the best run MJ companies by a mile and a half. And it's not even close. No one's even in their same league, in my personal opinion, okay? And so somebody like the Planet, I think I wouldn't be surprised if this stock's double the price at this time next year, to be quite frank. I think they're going to start putting up really good numbers actually as soon as next quarter. That's my personal opinion on that. I think Vegas is going to continue to show strength regardless of kind of what's going on in the economy. It's just every time I go down the Strip, it's busy as heck down there. The Planet location is the busiest I've seen it since maybe summer of 2021. I mean, I went by the location about 2 weeks ago, and it was extraordinary how busy that location was. It was unbelievable, really. And so I would bet, I think there's a high probability they're going to show actually really nice revenue growth starting next quarter. And I think there'll be momentum, and I wouldn't be surprised if the stocks double or triple up the price in a year from now, essentially. Okay. Am I buying the Planet? Absolutely not. I'm holding the stock right now. In terms of all these small caps, I put them all in the same category. When they hit profitability, that's when I'll buy more shares. I obviously put way too much money in all those risky small caps in 2021 and the beginning part of 2022, right? And so now I'm just holding what I got in all these different stocks, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And when they can show sustainable profitability again, that's when I'll step back in and I'll be more of a buyer of these sorts of companies. But they got to prove it now at this point in time, okay? So that's why I'm just a holder of those. But anyways, that's my opinion on that one, okay?